A tiny dachshund refuses to leave its owner's grave. What happens next will touch your soul. Before we continue this story, let us know where you're watching from. If you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to the channel because tomorrow we have another special story for you. The small dachshund sat in the shadow of the grave, its tiny frame motionless against the harsh autumn wind. The headstone bore the words, Eleanor Bennett, forever loved and remembered, etched into its weathered surface. For 3 days, the dog had not left its spot, refusing to eat, drink, or even acknowledge the strangers who had tried to comfort it. It seemed as if the dog was guarding a secret, a story it could not tell. Hannah, a local florist who often delivered bouquets to the cemetery, had noticed the dog every day. Today, something compelled her to approach. With cautious steps, she knelt a few feet away and placed a small plate of food on the ground. "Hey there, little one," she whispered. "You've been here all this time. What are you waiting for?" The dachshund turned its head slightly, its deep brown eyes locking with hers. There was a sadness in its gaze, but also an intensity that sent a shiver down Hannah's spine. Slowly, the dog inched closer to the food, but stopped abruptly, its nose pointing toward the base of the headstone. Hannah followed its gaze and noticed something unusual, a patch of freshly disturbed earth. "What's this?" she murmured, brushing away some of the loose dirt. Her fingers touched something hard and metallic, but before she could investigate further, the dachshund barked sharply, stepping in front of her with a protective growl. It wasn't aggression, it was a warning, as if to say, "Not yet." Hannah sat back, her heart pounding. This wasn't just a grieving pet. There was something deeper, something the dog was guarding with its entire being. "All right, I get it," she said softly. "You're not ready to share your secret, but I'll be back." As she walked away, the dachshund settled back into its vigil, its gaze fixed on the grave. Hannah couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than a coincidence. What had Eleanor Bennett left behind? And why was this tiny dog so determined to protect it? Hannah returned the next day, her curiosity now stronger than her initial hesitation. This time, she brought a small blanket, a bowl of water, and some freshly cooked chicken. The dachshund looked up as she approached, its tail wagging faintly, though its posture remained guarded. "I'm not here to hurt you," she said softly, placing the blanket near the grave and setting the bowl of water beside it. "I just want to help." The dog sniffed the air, cautiously inching closer to the chicken. It took a few hesitant bites, its eyes never leaving Hannah. Encouraged by its trust, she decided to try again. "What are you hiding here?" she whispered, her gaze drifting to the disturbed patch of earth beneath the headstone. This time, the dachshund didn't bark or growl. It simply watched as Hannah carefully brushed away the soil with her hands. She unearthed a small, rusted metal box, its edges corroded but intact. Her heart raced as she held it up to the fading sunlight. "Is this what you've been guarding?" she asked, glancing at the dog, whose tail wagged slightly as if to confirm. The box was locked, but the rust had weakened it. With a gentle tug, the latch gave way, revealing its contents. An old, folded photograph, a stack of letters tied with a ribbon, and a delicate gold locket. Hannah's fingers trembled as she unfolded the photograph. It showed a young Eleanor Bennett, smiling warmly, holding the very dachshund that sat before her. The letters appeared to be personal correspondence, and the locket, when opened, revealed a tiny portrait of a man and woman, Eleanor and presumably her late husband. Hannah's heart ached as she pieced together the story. This dog wasn't just a loyal pet, it was Eleanor's companion, a living link to her past and her memories. But why was it so intent on guarding these items? Just as Hannah began reading the first letter, the sound of footsteps crunching on the gravel startled her. She turned sharply to see a man in a dark coat approaching. He had a stern face and an air of authority. "What do you think you're doing?" he demanded. Hannah instinctively held the box closer. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The man's expression darkened. "I'm her nephew, Greg, and that box belongs to my family. Hand it over." The dachshund let out a low growl, stepping protectively in front of Hannah. She glanced at the dog, then back at Greg. "If you're her nephew, why didn't you know about this? Why is it this dog, not you, who's been here day and night?" Greg's jaw tightened. "It's none of your business. Now give me the box." Hannah stood her ground. "Not until I know what's going on. This dog has been protecting it for a reason, and I'm going to find out why." Greg took a step closer, but the dachshund barked fiercely, its tiny body trembling with defiance. Greg hesitated, muttering something under his breath before turning and walking away. Hannah watched him disappear into the distance, her pulse still racing. She looked down at the dog, who had relaxed slightly, its tail wagging in silent approval. "I guess we're in this together," she said, stroking its head. "Let's figure out what Eleanor wanted us to know." Later that evening, Hannah sat at her kitchen table with the rusted box and its contents spread before her. The room was quiet, save for the soft ticking of the clock on the wall. The Dachshund, whom she had decided to call Daisy, lay curled up at her feet, her eyes half closed but still alert. The letters and photograph told a story of love, loss, and a legacy left behind. Hannah carefully unfolded the letters, each one written in Eleanor's elegant handwriting. The letters revealed a deeply personal side of Eleanor's life, a story of a hidden inheritance. She and her late husband had purchased a piece of land many years ago, intending it to be a sanctuary for those in need. However, after his passing, Eleanor had struggled to maintain the dream, eventually sealing away the deed and details in the box, trusting Daisy to guard it. One letter in particular stood out. It read, "If you're reading this, it means you've found what I couldn't protect in life. This land is more than just property. It's a place of hope, a second chance for anyone who needs it. Please, whoever you are, honor this wish. Daisy will guide you. She knows what to do." Hannah looked down at Daisy, who was now watching her intently, as if understanding every word. "You've been waiting for someone to finish what Eleanor started," Hannah whispered, her voice tinged with awe. "And somehow, that person is me." But as she pondered Eleanor's instructions, a knock on the door shattered the quiet moment. Daisy shot up, barking furiously. Hannah's heart raced as she approached the door cautiously. Through the peephole, she saw Greg standing on her porch, his face shadowed by the dim porch light. Hannah opened the door just enough to speak. "What do you want?" Greg's voice was cold. "I know what's in that box. It belongs to my family, and I'm not leaving without it." Hannah stepped back, Daisy growling at her heels. "If this land was so important to your family, why didn't you protect it? Why did Eleanor feel like she had to hide it?" Greg's expression flickered with something unreadable. Guilt, perhaps, or frustration. "That land is worth a fortune," he snapped, "and I have a right to it." "It's not about money," Hannah said firmly. "Eleanor wanted this land to help people, not to make anyone rich, and Daisy trusted me to see it through. I won't let you take that away." Greg's patience snapped and he stepped forward, but Daisy barked so fiercely that he stopped in his tracks. "This isn't over," he hissed before turning and storming away. Hannah closed the door, her heart pounding. She leaned down to Daisy, stroking her head. "You're braver than I'll ever be," she murmured, "but he's not going to stop. We have to act fast." Looking at the map Eleanor had drawn, Hannah knew there was no time to waste. The land had to be secured before Greg found a way to take it. Daisy wagged her tail as if urging her to move forward. With renewed determination, Hannah packed the letters and locket back into the box. "All right, Daisy," she said. "Let's finish what Eleanor started." The next morning, Hannah and Daisy set out for the land Eleanor had described in her letters. The directions led them far beyond the town's outskirts, to a quiet expanse of rolling hills and dense trees. The air was crisp, and the faint sound of birdsong filled the silence. Daisy sat on the passenger seat of Hannah's car, her ears perked up and her tail wagging with anticipation, as if she knew they were nearing their destination. When they arrived, Hannah's breath caught. The land was stunning, untouched by time or human interference. A small wooden cabin stood at the heart of the property, surrounded by a sprawling meadow that seemed to glow under the morning sun. It was easy to see why Eleanor and her husband had chosen this place. It radiated peace and potential. Hannah stepped out of the car, and Daisy immediately jumped out, running through the grass with a joy that was contagious. "It's beautiful," Hannah whispered to herself, walking toward the cabin. The door creaked as she pushed it open, revealing a modest interior. Though dusty, the cabin was sturdy, with a fireplace, a kitchen, and a table that seemed to wait for someone to sit down and carry on Eleanor's dream. As Hannah explored the space, she found a small metal box tucked away in a cupboard. Inside was a set of keys, a copy of the deed, and a note in Eleanor's handwriting. "This is for the one who finds their way here. Use it wisely. Let this place become a sanctuary, just as we dreamed it could be." Hannah smiled, tears welling in her eyes. Daisy barked from outside, drawing her attention. When Hannah stepped onto the porch, she saw Greg's car approaching in the distance. Her heart sank. He's not giving up, she muttered, clenching her fists. Greg parked at the edge of the property and stepped out, his expression hard. You should have just handed over the box, he called, striding toward her. This doesn't belong to you. Hannah stood her ground, the keys clutched in her hand. It doesn't belong to you either. Eleanor wanted this land to help people, not to be sold off for profit. Greg sneered. And you think you know what she wanted? You barely knew her. I know enough, Hannah shot back. I know she trusted Daisy to protect her dream, and Daisy chose me to finish it. If you want to take this land, you'll have to go through both of us. Daisy growled low, stepping protectively in front of Hannah. For a moment, Greg hesitated, his eyes darting between the determined woman and the small but fierce dog. Something in his expression shifted, a flicker of doubt, or maybe shame. He opened his mouth to speak, but closed it again, turning on his heel and walking back to his car without another word. Hannah exhaled a shaky breath, her heart pounding. She knelt beside Daisy, stroking her fur. You did it, girl. You kept Eleanor's dream alive. Over the following weeks, Hannah began transforming the land into the sanctuary Eleanor had envisioned. Word spread quickly, and soon volunteers from the community came to help. They cleared the overgrown fields, repaired the cabin, and built spaces for people to gather, learn, and heal. Daisy became the heart of the project, her presence a constant reminder of the love and loyalty that had brought them all together. On the day of the sanctuary's grand opening, Hannah stood at the edge of the meadow, watching as families laughed, children played, and the community came together. Daisy sat beside her, her tail wagging gently. You did it, Daisy, Hannah said, her voice full of emotion. We did it. The little dachshund barked softly, her eyes shining with the same unwavering loyalty that had guided them from the start. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories of love, loyalty, and hope. Share this video with anyone who needs a reminder of the incredible bond we share with our pets and the impact one small act of kindness can have. See you in the next one.